comparison analysis to see where Europe is, to look at the best performers, the performers that we have to look at and see what are the policies that they're using so we can also improve our economic freedom in Central and Eastern Europe, and also to see in particular where Poland stands compared to the countries in Europe in all these categories. So let me start just to remind you again with the categories. So all 10 categories are rated from 0 to 100%, and higher the percentage, higher the score, higher economic freedom. So in overall score as well as in particular categories. Okay, so we look at the first category, business freedom, and we see Poland is almost 53.7%. That's mostly unfree. And we see the best performers are Nordic countries, Iceland, also Belgium, and Eastern Europe performs the worst in business freedom. So having lots of red tape, difficulty in starting the business, difficulty in closing the business. Trade freedom, you see Poland in EU actually graph, so it's 85.8% free. And when you look at this graph, you see that those countries that are out of the European Union have the lowest tariffs and almost non-existent non-tariff barriers. We see that former countries of Soviet Union and also Southeast Europe have the worst scores in trade freedom. When we look at the fiscal freedom, we see the reformers of Eastern Europe gaining the most freedom. Albania having 92.8% freedom, just implemented the flat tax actually 2 years ago. And all countries, as you see, the best performers have the flat tax. Poland is in the middle with 69%. I see here opportunity. It's a very good score for Europe, but looking at the Eastern Europe, it's Croatia has the worst score, and then it's Poland. So Poland has the opportunity to implement a flat tax and improve the score in fiscal freedom. In government size, we see again Eastern Europe leading the way, reducing the government expenditures as part of the GDP. On the other side, Nordic countries, Sweden scoring the worst with highest levels of government expenditure to GDP. Poland is in the middle, and I think also with, for example, the flat tax, you could also improve this score as well. And monetary freedom is something that Ambassador Miller was talking about the overall score. Actually, in monetary freedom, we see that compression. We see that standard deviation is actually becoming very low. And we see that it ranges from 65.8 to 87.4%, and Poland is high, scores quite high with 80%, 80.8%. Investment freedom, we see Western countries leading the way, having less government interference in investments, having more certainty in regulatory environment for domestic as well as foreign direct investment. Eastern European countries are scoring the worst, and Poland is somewhere in the middle in Europe with 60%. Financial freedom, we see those marked in red are old countries, let's say, core countries of the European Union, and they would not be considered as scoring the best in financial freedom. That means that there is government ownership in the financial intermediation sector and government interference. We see Poland is 60% free in that category, which is, in the middle somehow. It could be improved, obviously. Property rights, those marked in red are countries of the European Union. And this is an area that all Eastern European countries are scoring poorly, and there's large room for improvement in property rights, meaning in strengthening the rule of law, in bringing more respect for property rights, restitution of property that has not been restituted from communist times, and different challenges in those areas. And as Ambassador Miller mentioned as well, intellectual property, specifically in Poland, is not really protected. Freedom from corruption, those marked in red are again countries of the European Union. And this is an area as well that all these countries have to improve. Poland is 42% free, but it gained in 1 year time, as Ambassador Miller said, 7 points, which is a good improvement. And this is a good direction, so there must be more improvement in that area in Poland, as well as in other Eastern European countries. Labor freedom, the best performers are Denmark and Georgia, having almost no restrictions for employing and firing employees. And this is something that it's a mixed result. You see that we have Georgia, which is Eastern European country or former Soviet Union Republic, having the best scores, having done reforms in that area. Denmark scoring the best, but we have some Eastern as well as Western European countries having very restricted and rigid labor market. Here are the 10 countries that accessed European Union on May 1, 2004, and Poland is one of them. And we see that Estonia actually did most reforms in the period of time since the fall of communism. And obviously there is opportunity for Poland to do more reforms, to perform better than it has performed. But we see also that it's 10% mostly. If we accept Estonia, from Lithuania, Cyprus to Poland is actually 10% difference, and there is an opportunity for Poland to improve. This is a quote from the Wall Street Journal about the flat tax. That's one of the reforms that improved the scores of many Eastern European nations, that improved the fiscal freedom, improved the government size, meaning reduced the government expenditures as a part of the GDP, increased economic growth and standard of living of those nations. And surprisingly, it was the countries of Western Europe exported more to East Europe due to the flat tax and high economic growth in 2007, first time more than to the US. And this is actually a general advice for Eastern European countries. Some are performing better, some less, but in general, the lesson for all Eastern European countries is to reduce corruption, to strengthen the rule of law, to improve protection of property rights, reduce red tape and regulatory burden, and introduce flexibility in labor markets. And that's all from me today. Thank you.
Bardzo ja na koniec chciałem Państwa uwagę skierować na jeden punkt dzisiejszej prezentacji. Monetarny. Tak się akurat złożyło, że poziom tej wolności jest w Polsce wyższy niż w wielu innych krajach europejskich. Nawet w tych, które mają euro. Może właśnie dlatego. To prawda, wczorajszy New York Times pisał o tym, że mamy nową żelazną kurtynę, która dzieli kraje europejskie na te, które euro już mają, i na te, które jeszcze go nie mają. I prawdopodobnie ambasador Miller zna ten tekst. To wydaje mi się, że z naszej polskiej perspektywy to nie warto tak do końca słuchać New York Times. Dziękuję bardzo.